The Consulting Success podcast is powered by the Clarity Coaching Program. If you'd like to work directly with the Consulting Success team and receive personal coaching and support to optimize and grow your consulting business, marketing, and revenue, visit consultingsuccess.com to find out more and apply.
Welcome to the Consulting Success Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Zapersky. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into the world of elite consultants, where you'll learn the strategies, tactics, and mindset to grow a highly profitable and successful consulting business.
Hey everyone, Michael Zapersky here, and today I'm with Thomas Michael Hogg. Thomas, welcome.
Thanks, Michael. That's so good to be with you.
Yeah, so Thomas, you are the managing director at TMH Consulting and Investment Group. You've been running this now for the past 8 years or so. You've been featured in Bloomberg, CNN, The Economist, and you've worked with some very well-known clients like Adidas, PepsiCo, Campbell's Soup, and many others. I want to jump in and right off the bat, your latest book, Profitable Growth Strategy, demonstrates 7 proven kind of best practices for German companies. Just tell us, I mean, you and I were talking before we hit record here, that you are originally from Germany, now based in Mexico, but what kind of interests you so much around German companies and kind of why write this book?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. It's really interesting, the German business model. I mean, there's a lot of literature out there about the great business models, the American business models. When we talk about Google, when we talk about Facebook nowadays, when we talk about Amazon, there's a lot of literature. And I was looking for literature and also studying the German companies when we talk about Lufthansa, when we talk about the German automakers, when we talk about Porsche, when we talk about Volkswagen, Audi, BMW, Mercedes. And I kind of find that there's not a lot of content out there. Then my task was to deep dive about why German companies are successful and what are they doing. And I kind of found that the German companies, and not only the big ones, also the small and medium-sized ones, have one thing in common. The thing is a profitable growth. I mean, they are kind of really structured in their finances, having quarter by quarter good results. And I wanted to understand, okay, what is this about and why German companies, not only the big brands we may know, but also this small and medium-sized segment, because I found out that there are 1,500 niche market leaders, German niche market players, German companies in engineering and many other industries and sectors leading their markets. And this is kind of unique. There's no other country in the world who has so many market leaders.
I mean, I really love that because I think you're right. So often people read and focus on the most talked about companies, which in most cases, not all, I mean, there's certainly some Chinese companies that have raised media attention, but a lot are US based. And I think that some of the greatest breakthroughs of new ideas that lead then to higher levels of success actually come from outside of the main areas of focus or where people are, because if everybody's studying the same things, it's hard to get a breakthrough from that. So I love that you've looked at German companies, and clearly Germany is known for executing very well, on time, getting things right, all that kind of stuff. From your research then, Thomas, what stood out? I mean, you mentioned kind of profitability and the focus on finance, but are there any other principles that when you think about a consultant or a consulting firm or a service-based business, anything else from your research that kind of stood out from those German companies that you think might be relevant or could apply to that consultant or consulting firm?
What you already mentioned, I mean, is what maybe Germany and also German companies are famous for. It's the quality. When I was working in 2005 in Germany at Adidas, I was working in the product development department, and we were preparing all the product category for the FIFA World Cup, for the Soccer World Cup in 2006 in Germany. It was a big deal for me working there and being part of this team. And when it comes to research and development, and when it comes to quality, when I was at the test center there, it was amazing to see that they told me, hey, look at all the products we are testing today. Our competitors, when we talk about other brands, Puma, Nike, and specifically about soccer balls or footballs, we did some tests and they told me, look, the FIFA standards to get approved from FIFA are at, let's say, 100. At our test center, we are testing all the products to reach a 150% quality. And this was kind of a mindset I've learned, and then this was a key learning for my whole career, that they really look and try to have the best quality in the market. So this was a key learning for me in Adidas, but when we see this in other industries, in other German companies, and this is kind of a mindset and also kind of an obsession, I have seen that we are really so quality focused. And there is kind of a heritage on this quality approach What I've seen when we come about specifications, when it comes about certifications, we know a lot of certifications, ISO certifications or the TÜV certifications, where it really comes to 100 or 200 years ago, where in the German industries, they really try to have more security and higher quality standards. So they kind of are also responsible for implementing all these certificates and certifications. And this is kind of history based. And this is, I guess, it comes that Germans are really, really so focused on quality.
And Thomas, is there any examples of, with that mindset that you've now kind of embraced over the years, of what you've done in your own consulting business at TMH? Any examples of, how you've tried to implement that and things that have worked or things that maybe haven't worked? Any lessons you can share?
I mean, at the end of the day, it comes to the day-to-day business, not to the day-to-day, how you engage with clients and how you set standards. First of all, I think it's really important to set standards really high with your own team, that they really know, okay, what are our standards about delivering value to a client? And these standards, we can compare it to quality, but at the end of the day, you have to deliver value. And when we talk about consultants, I mean, of course, you have to give and transform the business and you have to deliver financial results. And this is why, I mean, all our consultants kind of are trained on this profitable growth model or this profitable growth concept we develop to help clients not only to boost sales, but at the same time being profitable. Because the greatest challenge of all companies or of the CEOs out there, and even more now in crisis, is how do I get in this profitable growth zone? So there, obviously, we have in our consultancy, first of all, I mean, we have internal trainings on, okay, what does profitable growth mean? How can we achieve it? How does different industries have different margins or profit margins, and how we should set this standard and find and define strategies to help the clients to get into this profitable growth zone. So this is important. First of all, I mean, your team has to understand this standard and later on engage with the clients and deliver these standards or reaching or surpassing the standards together with the clients.
Right. And I think it's a really good point. I mean, so often the leader or the founder of a company might have these standards or have an idea of what they want to create or the value that they want to communicate and put out there, but it's not actually being communicated to other members of their team. And so there isn't an alignment, right? Not everyone is moving towards the same goal, or they don't know what to actually expect of others or of themselves. So I think you're making a really good point there. One area that I know, Thomas, you spend a lot of time thinking about is around like business model design. And I'm wondering, at your company, is there anything that you've done to kind of architect the model for your consulting firm? Anything you think is a little bit different, or anything that you just feel has worked really well to create the kind of model that supports, the business you want to have, the level of profitability, lifestyle, just anything else that kind of stands out to you regarding your business model?
I mean, I guess at the end of the time, I mean, there are a lot of consultants out there, really good consultants, and focused on the analysis part. And when we are talking about the analysis part, there's one big thing about data. I mean, you have to analyze all the client data. But the second thing, and I guess even more important, is the client himself or herself, or it's about people. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you have to change the mindset and you have to move people to achieve certain results. So this is where we focus on the analysis part, obviously on the data, but also on client interviews, on really profound client interviews and engaging with the clients. And maybe not only, and what is my approach a little bit, not only knowing and asking about the company goals and the professional goals, also asking about, hey, what are your personal goals? Especially when we engage with the company owners and the business owners, depends on the company size. But normally we are working with also mid-sized companies. And so we are engaging with the company owners to ask them, okay, where do you want your company to be in 3 or 5 years? But on a professional level, but on a personal level, what's your role? What do you want? Where do you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years? So when you understand the company owner, him or her, much better. And then again, you have to engage with the executive team, with the different directors of each area. Also, I mean, you kind of are in need of this personal relationship with your client and with the people who are at the end of the day.
What about the structure though? The actual structure of like how you've kind of structured your consulting business. I mean, just kind of walk us through or take us through what that looks like. So you have yourself, you have other team members. I mean, are you charging clients on an hourly basis, and there's a margin between what you pay your team members and what you collect? Or just kind of give us a bit more detail, if you can, around what the actual structure of your firm looks like.
First of all, we have the operation side where we have the consultants, where we do all the analysis and then the strategy design and then the strategy implementation. We are really focusing on a practical implementation. So this phase is really important. So there we have specialized consultants and also analysts who are helping us and delivering the
How many people on that side, on the kind of analysis side and so forth?
Yeah, that's a good question. We are a small team, and the niche team, we have 6 consultants on the strategy, operations, and the implementation. Then we have 2 people on the marketing side. So all the events, webinars, podcasts we are attending, and also social media, we have 2 people in charge of kind of marketing. And then we have obviously 2 persons on the administration side about accounting and this stuff. But what I have learned, and I have worked for bigger consulting firms, I really try not to go there with a big consultant team to a client and try to work with the client and kind of making accountable and responsible the project leader of our client to be the head of the team. And also that a lot of, tasks have to be implemented from the team, because sometimes in the consulting world, you can find a lot of theory, you can find a lot of high-level recommendations, and then it lacks on implementation. And this is where my model is more to work with the company owner and to work with his team to set up strategies on our advice and helping them on analysis, so we can have a joint plan and also then implement with them directly.
Let's talk a little bit more about your clients in terms of the business and how it's been built up. So you're a German guy, you're running a consulting business in Mexico now for the last 8 years or so. How does that happen? And I'm asking with interest because my background as well, was building a consulting firm. We took kind of the consulting firm that we had, and then when I moved to Japan, I opened up a branch office for it there and built that business. But it's always interesting for me when you have not only the challenge of just doing business, but then you have potentially language challenges, cultural challenges. So walk us through, how did you go from being this German guy in Mexico and then actually starting to work with clients? Are you working with Mexican companies? Are you working with global businesses? Just kind of take us through the beginning, the early stages, first of all, not necessarily right now, but the early stages to begin with. What did that look like in terms of who were your first clients?
Some of our first clients, were from my network. I built up a kind of a network where from my executive MBA, I did here. So also, there you have a network. Then I am participating in some ONGs. One ONG is about Down syndrome, and there another.
Sorry, when you say ONG, is that like a nonprofit?
Yeah, a nonprofit. So there I'm engaging in the board to helping them to raise funds to invest into the cause. So I had already some different networks in the business school, on the social side, on my board memberships, connections, and also in church. And so you have this kind of network, and also there you can connect to some business and company owners. And really, this was the first step. So just they knew a little bit about my CV, and then they knew a little bit about how I, for example, working for this Down syndrome ONG, they saw how I helped, obviously, this organization to grow. And then the company owners and the other board members said, hey, I want that you are going to help me with my company. And there you start to connect to other people. And then honestly, the first project in kind of an inner circle or in the network you have, and people already trust you. And then you start to delivering results, and then they kind of recommend you. And year by year, then you get more clients or different clients. And this was the start. But on the other hand, obviously, you have to build somehow a brand about your topic, strategic planning, business model design, commercial strategy, and then being recommended, or then obviously knocking doors on the companies you want to work for. So I also engaged with the most important trade fair, industrial technological trade fair in the world, which is the Hannover Messe in Germany. And they're I'm now representing here in Monterey, I'm representing the fair and connecting to the company owners and to all the topics the fair is offering. So there you're getting in touch also with the people or the company or a business.
Maybe actually, let me just stop you there for a minute, Thomas, because I think that's a really interesting point. You mentioned kind of stage one of the business was your inner circle, your network, just people that you had met from business school or from being on different boards of nonprofits. But then you said kind of the next stage, in order for you to grow beyond just your networking connections, you had to think a little bit more strategically and start to use different tactics to generate more conversations, right? More leads, right? More business. You said one of those was connecting with a large trade fair, right, in Hanover, Germany, and representing that fair in your local area. Talk a little bit more about like what the strategy was, or how did you do that? Because what I'd like is for all of our viewers and listeners right now to maybe think about, is there some opportunity like that for them as well? It might be a bit different, but how can they think more creatively and out of the box around opportunities to connect with ideal clients? So just take us through, what did you actually do there, kind of step by step?
I mean, when you're planning a little bit your business, and our business plan, it was, I mean, you have to think, how can you engage with your target market? So there are different places, as I thought, I mean, as I told you, in some boards or in some associations. And then it's all about, I mean, you have to deliver value kind of there. So on the other side, you can say, hey, I can present the fair to many company and business owners, and they have some goals and objectives. So you kind of have to put on the table some value as well. And then you can try to build a brand or come up. What I also came up with was writing a book, which also helps what we talked about internally, that your employees understand, okay, the business model, but also, I mean, if you're launching it out to the market, they see, okay, he knows what he's talking about. He worked, I mean, before having my own consultant firm, I worked around 10 years in the consultant business. So he kind of knows what he's talking about, and he helped other big clients. And now he's trying to help or support more medium-sized companies.
Thomas, so you say that was a strategy essentially to you position yourself as kind of a representative, connecting this big opportunity of this kind of world fair in Hanover, right, or this big event, and then contacting companies in Mexico who you thought might benefit by going to that fair or being a part of it. And so when you're reaching out to those companies, you're not doing it with the positioning of, hey, I'm a consultant, do you need some help and services? You're positioning it more as, hey, I'm representing this fair, or I'm from Germany, but now in Mexico. Here's an opportunity, I think, for a lot of Mexican companies, like yours. Here's why. Is that kind of the idea behind it, and that created an initial conversation, or was it different?
Actually, you're right. I mean, in the first place, you cannot sell. I mean, and it's not a good idea to just go out there and say, hey, I'm doing this, just buy from me. And somehow you have this myth to think, hey, what's about delivering value? It's not about selling in the first place. It's about serving a community. It's about serving other company owners, that they really see that you do not have only in your mind to sell them, that really to deliver them some value. So they have seen, we traveled with 120 company owners. We traveled to Germany to this trade fair, and I put up an agenda for them and to present their companies, and also to get engaged with the new technologies, all the industry 4.0 technology, what is going on the competitiveness on the companies globally. And there I got a lot of clients, because they have seen, I mean, he's taking care of the big trends, and we want to engage a little bit more. And at the end of the day, what I told you, it's about first the inner circle, but then the second and the third step is the same thing. It's about trust. I mean, the consultant is about buying trust. I mean, they trust your company. They have to trust in you, because as you know, they open their whole company to you, their whole life, and they're really trusting in you that you can help them to boost their company. So it's all about trust at the end of the day, I guess.
And Thomas, aside from referrals and your network, today, what are you finding is working best for you to create conversations with your ideal clients? Are you sending them a book? Are you doing direct mail? Are you doing phone calls, emails, LinkedIn, advertisements? I mean, what are you finding for you right now in your business, aside from just the networking connections, do you think is most helpful in building the business, building revenue, and building the brand?
It's about speaking engagements, or doing own webinars or webcasts, or to look for speaking engagements.
And how are you doing that now? I mean, given that with COVID, right, in-person speaking almost doesn't exist, right, in many places. You're in Mexico. Mexico definitely has been impacted by COVID, as well as many other places around the world. Certainly Germany has too, right? So it's a challenging time for many. What have you done? How are you handling kind of navigating that the in-person talk? It's just not possible the way that it was before. What are you doing to navigate that, or what have you been doing?
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you kind of have to make the meetings online. So I tried what I said. I tried to get in touch with my prospects or end clients doing webinars, doing a lot of webinars for free, doing a lot of speaking engagements for different associations, chambers of commerce in different places, and also through universities. And so you come up with a topic. I'm talking a lot about, the German economy, the US economy, and of course also the Mexican economy. And for them, it's interesting to listen to also a foreign expert. What does he say? What is happening right now on global competitiveness? What are the big disruptions? I see the financial disruption due to COVID and also the digital disruption, what is happening at the same time. And then you talk to them, okay, let me tell you what is happening in the States and in Germany. Let me tell you what is happening in China. Let me tell you what is happening in Mexico, for example. So I try to give out content, but deep content, just really to say, okay, what are the different business models? What are the big trends? And then telling them, okay, what you have to do as a business or a company owner to boost your business, and what are the key practices? What is the key focus, the key strategies? And obviously you need some data.
Why speak to universities? What's the thinking behind presenting to a university or giving a talk at a university? I mean, it doesn't sound like they're your ideal clients in the audience, or maybe they are. Tell me kind of what's your decision behind that?
At the end of the day, it's kind of a mixture between a personal goal I do have to help students and to become just better information, because there's a lot of theoretical stuff out there. And especially here in Mexico, I have a plan, and I'm actually writing another book for Mexico 2050, where I want to see the country in 30 years. So this is why I'm engaging on, maybe as one goal, with a lot of universities, just to giving value to the students, because in some point of our careers, Michael, somebody or someone trusted in us. And maybe it wasn't a company or it wasn't a university, but there were people who trusted in us, and we did not have the motivation, we did not have the money, we did not have the preparation to go into next steps. And this is somehow is giving something back to this community. But on the other hand, it's really interesting, Michael, when I'm engaging to private universities, there are a lot of the children of the company owners are studying there. So it's interesting that I got into 2 or 3 projects the last 6 months, also because they told her dad or her mom, hey, I just got to know this German consultant, and it's really interesting how he helps companies and how he thinks about Mexico, about Germany, about the US. And you get engaged and having trust with them, and then they present you to your target market, which are their parents. It's really interesting.
Yeah, that is. I don't think you would typically think that connection could exist, but you clearly have made that work, even if that's not the initial intention. I think that's just a really powerful demonstration and example. So Thomas, I want to make sure that people can learn more about you and your work and everything that you have going on. Where's the best place for them to go?
We just set up the webpage of the book. It's www.profitablegrowthstrategy.com. There you can find all about the book, which talks about the 7 best practices for German companies, and also on the homepage of our consultant firm, which is tmh.com.mx.
Wonderful. We're going to have all that linked up in the show notes. Thomas, thank you again so much for coming on here and sharing some of your wisdom and experience with us.
Thanks a lot, Michael.
Hey, it's Michael here, and we'll be right back to the podcast. But first, are you ready to grow, scale, and take your consulting business and marketing to the next level? If so, our Clarity Coaching Program may be a great fit for you. You'll work with our experienced team to set up a strategic plan for your business and coach you step by step in areas like how to consistently attract more leads, develop a magnetic message that resonates with your ideal clients, strategically package and position your services, earn higher fees, win more proposals, and scale your business. To find out more about Clarity Coaching and apply, go to consultingsuccess.com and click on coaching. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Success Podcast. For more episodes and to subscribe, rate, and leave a review, head on over to iTunes. And if you'd like to develop consistent lead flow and a highly profitable consulting business, learn more about our coaching programs at consultingsuccess.com.